10. Yubitsume punishment. Yubitsume is an old Japanese ritual where someone cuts off part of their own little finger to show they're truly sorry or to take responsibility for something wrong they did. This act is mostly done by the Yakuza, which is a group of organized crime gangs in Japan. The tradition actually started with old-time gamblers called Bakuto, who came before the modern Yakuza. Back then, if a gambler couldn't pay off their debt, instead of money, they might offer part of their finger. It became a way to show how serious and loyal someone was, or to keep their reputation when they messed up. To do yubitsume, the person puts a clean cloth down, places their hand on it, palm down, and uses a very sharp knife, often a small Japanese blade, to cut off the tip or the top joint of their left pinky finger. They then carefully wrap the cut-off piece in the cloth and respectfully hand it over to their boss, known as the oyabun, to show their apology or loyalty. 9. Impalement. Impalement is one of the most painful and horrifying forms of execution ever used in history. It involves forcing a long, sharp object, like a wooden stake, metal pole, or spear, through a person's body. This could be done through the chest, stomach, or even from the bottom up, starting at the rectum or vagina and pushing upward through the body. The person was often left to die slowly, which could take hours or even days. It was used as a form of capital punishment, death penalty, especially for those who committed serious crimes like treason, betraying the country, rebellion, or other acts considered threats to the state or ruler. It was also used to create fear, showing others what would happen if they stepped out of line. 8. The heretic's fork. The heretic's fork was a cruel torture device used during the Middle Ages, especially by the Inquisition, to punish people accused of heresy, speaking or acting against the church's teachings. The device was a metal rod with two sharp prongs on each end. One end pointed upward toward the chin, the other downward into the chest or collarbone. It was strapped around the victim's neck using a leather belt or metal band, making it impossible to lower their head or speak. Even the slightest movement would cause the sharp ends to pierce the skin. Victims were often forced to wear it for hours or days, and it was designed to cause constant pain, fear, and humiliation without killing the person. It wasn't just about physical pain. The point was also psychological, to break the spirit and force people to confess or stay silent. Often people were kept awake while wearing it, adding sleep deprivation to the torture. 7. Blowing from a gun. It was a brutal method of execution used mainly in colonial India, especially by the British East India Company during the 18th and 19th centuries. It was also used earlier by Mughal rulers. In this punishment, the person to be executed was tied to the front of a cannon, with their back against the barrel. When the cannon was fired, the explosion would tear the body apart instantly, often scattering limbs and body parts. This method was used especially for rebels, mutineers, or people accused of treason as a warning to others. It was meant to not only kill, but to completely destroy the body, which was especially horrifying in cultures where proper burial of the body was very important. 6. The rack punishment. The rack was one of the most feared torture devices used in medieval times. It was designed to stretch a person's body in a slow and painful way. Here's how it worked. The victim would be tied down flat on a wooden frame, hands and feet attached to rollers or wheels at each end. Then, the torturer would slowly turn the rollers, pulling the arms and legs in opposite directions. The rack was cranked, the person's joints would stretch, muscles would tear, and bones could even pop out of their sockets. The pain was intense, and people were often tortured this way to force a confession or to get information. Sometimes the victim wasn't killed, but left with lifelong injuries or paralysis. 5. The rat's cup. Rat's cup was a horrifying method of torture that used a live rat to cause intense pain and fear. Here's how it worked. A metal or clay bowl or cage containing a rat was placed open side down on the victim's bare stomach or chest. Then the torturer would heat the outside of the bowl, usually with fire or hot coals. As the bowl got hotter, the rat, trying to escape the heat, would start digging through the only way out, into the victim's body. The rat would claw, bite, and tunnel into the flesh to get away from the heat. This punishment caused excruciating pain and often led to serious injury or death. It wasn't just about the physical pain, though. It was also used to create pure terror in the victim's mind. 4. Bastinado. It is a form of corporal punishment, physical punishment, where a person is beaten on the soles of their feet, usually with a stick, cane, or whip. The victim is often tied up or held down, and their bare feet are raised or stretched out. Then the soles are struck repeatedly. Even though the feet may seem like a strange target, this method is extremely painful because the soles have a lot of sensitive nerves. Unlike some other forms of torture, bastinado doesn't always leave visible scars, but it can cause bruising, swelling, nerve damage, and even make it hard to walk for days or weeks. It has been used in various countries throughout history, from ancient Egypt and China to the Middle East and Europe, as a way to punish prisoners, slaves, or criminals, or to force confessions. 3. Crushed by elephant. Being crushed by an elephant was a real method of execution used in parts of Southeast Asia, especially in India, Sri Lanka, and by some Mughal emperors for hundreds of years. In this punishment, a person, usually a criminal, rebel, or enemy of the state, was placed in front of a trained elephant, and the elephant would be ordered to crush them to death, often by stepping on their head or chest. Sometimes the elephants were trained to kill instantly to make it quick, but in more brutal cases, they were ordered to torture the person slowly by crushing the arms, legs, or dragging them before delivering the final blow. This method wasn't just about punishment, it was also a public warning to others. Watching such a massive animal kill a human was meant to scare the population and show the power of the king or ruler. 2. Pitch capping. This was a cruel and painful form of torture, used mainly during the late 1700s, especially by British forces during the Irish Rebellion of 1798. In this method, hot tar or pitch, a sticky, boiling black substance, was poured into a metal or paper cap. While still burning hot, the cap was forced onto the victim's shaved head. After the tar cooled and hardened, the cap was ripped off, tearing away skin, scalp, and hair with it. It was often used to punish or humiliate suspected rebels or political enemies, and it caused intense pain, severe burns, and permanent scarring. Sometimes it was done in public to send a warning to others. It wasn't just about physical pain, it was meant to break people psychologically too. 1. Basil punishment. In the year 1014, Emperor Basil II of the Byzantine Empire defeated the Bulgarian army in a massive battle. After winning, he captured around 15,000 Bulgarian soldiers, but instead of killing them, Basil gave a horrifying order. He had almost all of them blinded, groups of 100 soldiers, and in each group only one man was left with one eye to help lead the others back home. Thousands of blind soldiers were then sent on a long journey back to Tsar Samuel, the Bulgarian ruler. When Samuel saw his blinded army returning, stumbling, wounded, and helpless, it's said that the shock and heartbreak were so great that he died from a heart attack just days later. Because of this, Basil earned the nickname Basil the Bulgar Slayer. It was one of the most brutal psychological punishments in history, not just meant to hurt people physically, but to crush the spirit of an entire nation.